Hello, 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 hello. Hello, guys. Hello, hello, hello. How's everyone doing? Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in. My name is AyoT, and you're watching Eagles Tracker, the home of Nigerian football. Today is Tactical Tuesday. Today is Tactical Tuesday. Thank you very much for joining. Please let me know where you're tuned in from very quickly, just so that I can greet you and thank you for joining the live stream. Please let me know where you're tuned in from very, very quickly. Please make sure to share so that we can get more people tuned in. Make sure to like the video, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much. If you are watching this on Facebook or on X or on Instagram, please make sure you join us on YouTube. The stream is going to end on Facebook, it's going to end on Instagram, it's going to end on X. So please make sure you join us on YouTube, youtube.com/ at Eagles Tracker NG. Please make sure you join us on YouTube so that you can enjoy the full stream uninterrupted. As you've probably seen from the title of the video, today's conversation is going to be a tactical analysis of Felix Agu, looking at his strengths, his weaknesses, and what he can bring to the Super Eagles squad. Felix Agu, of course, is a player for Werder Bremen. Um, he's German born, and he's set to potentially make his first cap for the Super Eagles of Nigeria. So it's going to be an exciting conversation. Looking at some of his videos, looking at some of the data around his performances, and kind of using that to talk about him and seeing what we believe he can bring to the Super Eagles. I'm someone that believes in data. I work with data every single day. I'm also someone that believes in my eyes. Even though I wear glasses, I still believe in my eyes and what I see when I watch football. And I believe that these two tools, what you see with your eyes and what the data tells you, you're supposed to use them together to judge players. And today we're just going to be looking at this player, and let's learn more about him, about what he can do, about the things that maybe he can improve on, and hopefully at the end of this, you guys have a better understanding of Felix Agu. Now, today is going to be very tactical. It's not just going to be gist. It's not just going to be conversation. So I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I encourage you to tune in. I encourage you to join us on YouTube, and I believe and I strongly, know that you will learn a lot and you'll be very informed. And just maybe you can start to appreciate the tactical and analytical side of the game a little bit more after today's live stream. So, once again, thank you very much for joining me. If you are not on YouTube, please make sure you join us on YouTube because the stream will be ending on other platforms once we get into the nitty gritty of the conversation. Thank you very much. I see you, Chile Ihunwo from the UK. Please join us on YouTube. Raphael Ogar, please join us on YouTube. Olusonya Ayodele is in Oshun State. Thank you very much. Ademu Friday is joining from Kogi State. Thank you very much. Mr. Adedotun, join us on YouTube. Thank you. I see you. Thank you very much. We'll get going in just a bit. I just want to give a little bit more time for people to join us on YouTube before we get into the conversation so that people don't miss crucial parts of the analysis or of what we're talking about today. So please share with your friends, whoever you discuss Nigerian football with, let them tune in to today's show on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ at Eagles Tracker NG. Join us now and we will be ready to go in a bit. Adiola66, greetings from London. I hope you are going to watch the game tomorrow, Adiola. I hope you are going to watch the game tomorrow. If you are in London and you're not going to watch the Unity Cup and support the Super Eagles, then I don't like you, or I like you a little bit less. So, Adiola, I hope you are going to watch the game tomorrow. Go and support the boys at the GTech Community Stadium. I hope you're going to support the boys. Okay, without further ado, let us get into the conversation for today. Hello, Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever I'm watching or listening to this from. My name is AyoT, and this is Eagle Tracker, the home of Nigerian football. Today, we are doing a tactical deep dive into Felix Agu, the new Super Eagle in camp, and a player that is primed to make his debut for the national team in the Unity Cup match against Ghana, or at least in the second game against Jamaica or Trinidad and Tobago. Felix Agu is a player who, of course, was eligible to play for Germany, but recently made it very publicly known that he would like to play for the Super Eagles of Nigeria. And Eric Shaw has handed him his first call up. Initially, he was only supposed to be a training player, but he got his clearance on time and he's now able to play in the match. So I strongly believe that he will get his opportunity to play. If you haven't been paying attention or if you haven't been following him, no problem. You'll learn a lot about him today. Felix Agu is 25 years old. He was born on the 27th of September in 1999. And he is a player that this season and most of his career has played his football primarily from the left back position, but he can also play on the right side of the defense. In fact, I would even say his stronger foot is his right foot. So he's one of those left backs that uses their right foot most of the time. So you can imagine already the kind of balls that he plays and the kind of movements that he makes on the field. Okay, he played for Werder Bremen in the German Bundesliga this past season. In the league, 21 starting appearances and one time off the bench, and in the cup, three appearances in total, with only one of them coming from the start. He has been at Werder Bremen since the 2020-2021 season after a stint in Osnabrück in the second Bundesliga. Osnabrück is the club where he started his career, played for under 17s, played for under 19s, and he eventually made it into the first team. Played there in the second Bundesliga, played some friendly games for Germany's under 21 squad, and then made a transfer to Werder Bremen in the Bundesliga. And he has gone down because Werder Bremen got relegated in his first season, but has come back up and has now become a steady player in the first division of German football. Felix Agu is a player that I think is very talented. Um, can play with his right foot primarily, but can also use his left foot. Can play on the outside or can invert and play on the inside as well. Lots of quality traits that this boy has, and I think that a lot of people will like what they see from him once we get into the video and we really look at him as a player. Okay, so let us take a look into some of the pros and cons that I have identified about Felix Agu. He's a player that has many pros, but like every human being in this world, there are obviously some things that he can get better at. That I think that is fairly normal. There's no perfect player. There's no player that has everything in his locker, and we're going to take a look at the things that he can do and the things that he can get better at. As always, I will be stopping and starting the videos when I'm playing them just to do my best to avoid any kind of copyright strikes because, as you know, I do not own the contents that comes from the German Bundesliga, unfortunately. But let us start with it. The first pro that I haven't identified and I think is pertinent is that Felix Agu is a player who can play both on the inside and on the outside. When you look at a lot of the modern day, when you look at a lot of the modern day fullbacks that we have today. You look at the likes of Miles Lewis Kelly, who plays for Arsenal. You look at the likes of Marco Curiella, who plays for Chelsea. A lot of coaches ask their fullbacks to invert and play on the inside now. And that is something that he does with relative confidence and with relative ease. And I think it's something that can be good for Nigerian football and for the Super Eagles. So let's take a look at a couple clips. Ball is on the right hand side. A cross comes in, headed back out, and right now highlighted on the screen is Felix Agu. You can see he's approaching this attack, but other than a typical left back that will probably be very wide in this image on the left hand side, running up and down that side. You can see him approaching the ball, one into the top corner. It's a fantastic goal, but this is one evidence of him playing on the inside versus the outside, and of course, shows you how he can use his right foot very well, which I think is a stronger foot. Player takes a shot, and then you can see this time Felix Agu is highlighted on your screen again. But other than in the first video that we just watched, where he was coming from a more central position, this one you can see that he's entering the play from the left hand side and is on the left side of the box, which is kind of where there, but he taps it in, and then that's another goal that he scores. So he's someone that can play both on the left side, playing outside, and can also play on the inside. That is one trait that I like. It is something that we do not quite see from the Super Eagles. Whether it be Bruno Yemechi on the left, whether it be Zedu Sanusi, or even when it's Ola, a lot of the time we just take the wide area and we don't really do much on the inside. The inside is usually operated by the midfielders, but with a little bit of dynamism, with a player who understands how to play from both sides fairly comfortably, stronger on his right foot. So when he's inside, he's not going to be a liability, and can also use his left foot. So even when he's on the outside, he's not going to be a liability. I think this is something that could be very interesting. And I think it's a very interesting trait for him to have. I think it's a very interesting trait for him to have. Okay, so far, I hope you guys are understanding me. I hope um, it's making sense to you. We'll get into some more of his clips and more of his data in a bit. I just want to say, final call. If you are watching on Facebook, Instagram, or X, Twitter, please, please, please join us on YouTube now. YouTube.com/@ Eagle Striker NG. Somebody is telling me I never talk about somebody. Please join us on YouTube. Join us on YouTube. Thank you very much. The stream is going to end on Instagram now. So please join on YouTube. Thank you. Okay, let us keep it going. So I mentioned how he can play on both sides. But another thing that he can do is he can use both feet relatively well. And not only can he use both feet, but I think he can also deliver a nice cross into the box. And that's something that I like about him. He can deliver a good cross into the box. And we know that when it comes to the crossing, we don't really capitalize on our crosses that much. I know people will say, "Oh, but Ola not crossed the ball for Victor Osimhen in the last game." Yes, because I say we don't capitalize on it that much does not mean that we never get accurate crosses. But a lot of the time, people complain about the quality of the crosses that are coming into the box. And with somebody like Victor Osimhen as our number 9, Osimhen we know is a deadly finisher. Can head anything in, can get on the end of any aerial door. I think it is going to be valuable to us to have a player that can really cross a ball. And I think that is where he can come in. Felix Agu, I'm talking about, can come in and can really offer. And again, can cross the ball with both feet. Let us look at some examples of that. Oh, so a good header that the striker heads over the bar. This one did not go in, but just looking at the quality of the ball into the box, I think if this striker that they had was Victor Osimhen, Victor Osimhen will be licking his lips at this kind of chance. Um, fantastic balling from Felix Agu on his left foot, and I think if he can deliver that kind of quality for Victor Osimhen, obviously it's not necessarily going to have Osimhen for this Unity Cup match or for the Unity Cup games, but moving forward, in World Cup qualifying, if he can deliver that kind of cross for Victor Osimhen, it can be really beneficial to us. And he's someone that can use both feet. So he receives the ball now. You can see him, um, you can see him a bit more inside, but he also has the awareness to see that his attacker is going to take the out. This one again, the attacker doesn't quite get on the end of it, but this ball can be for a Chukwueze, can be for an Osime, can be for a Simon, whoever is occupying that space. And I think that the quality that he has on the ball delivering these crosses will definitely pose a threat to opposition for Nigeria. And I think he adds another area of our game that we don't exploit that much, especially with the crosses on his right foot. Because a lot of the time, even when we do deliver crosses into the box, you can usually expect it to be a cross that is just, a player that went out wide and then puts on his left foot into the box. Sometimes they play it too far, sometimes they play it too short. Now, it doesn't mean that Felix Agu never, misses a cross or anything like that, but he crosses with fairly decent accuracy. And evidence of that is, if we look at his data, let me just show you. So if we look at his data in terms of crosses, now this is analyzing all of the left backs in the Bundesliga for the 2024-2025 season that played at least 90 minutes in the season. He ranks number 44 in terms of just the average number of crosses per 90 minutes. But if you look at all these players that are on this list, including Jurasek of Hoffenheim, who averages 8.15 crosses per 90, only God knows how this guy is just whipping the ball into the box nonstop. But the important stat that I want you guys to notice there is the accuracy percentage. Of all these players on the list that you see here, look at who has the highest cross percentage accuracy. It's Felix Agu, 42% cross accuracy, and it is not even close. The guy who averages the most crosses only crosses with 25% accuracy. So that's 1 in 4 that actually finds his man. But Felix Agu, almost 1 in every 2 crosses that he attempts hits the desired player. And I think that that's an exciting statistic. Again, if we have a Victor Osimhen getting on the end of this, ha, if somebody can say, Victor Osimhen, make a run into the box, and I will hit your head with 1 out of every 2 crosses that I put into the box, I think Osimhen will lick his lips and he will sign up for that deal. So I'm very excited about how accurate of a crosser he is. And I really, really, really do hope that we see dividends when he starts to play for Nigeria, because this is something that, again, the quality of Victor Osimhen aerial balls, I think it can be very, very good. I think it can be very, very good. If we also just look at dribbles very quickly, because he's a player that likes to get forward. I didn't show you guys this, but let me quickly show you. When you look at his hit map, so like I already explained at the start, Felix Agu plays primarily from the attack, primarily from the left hand side, forgive me. But you can see that he's a player that likes to get forward. Look at how low the hit is when you look close to his box. He's, essentially playing as a left midfielder and sometimes as a left winger. He likes to involve himself in the attack. He likes to involve himself in the attack. So I think that this is something that is going to be very interesting. Of course, playing from the left center back position with Calvin Bassey providing cover, maybe he has a bit more freedom to involve himself in the attack. But when I get into some of the things that I really, really do like about him, we'll talk more about it. I think that even though Agu likes to get involved in the attack, he does not let his team down most of the time, because he has good recovery and he's quite quick as a player. So it's not necessarily something that causes issues for his team. I'm seeing different opinions about him. Guys, please, if you want me to highlight your comments or take your opinion, please don't forget, support the channel with a super chat, and would appreciate you as you do so. This analysis and everything took a bit of time and effort, so I think it would be nice if you supported with a super chat as you leave your comments. Thank you very much. Okay, let us look at another cross on his right foot. So, sorry, let's just take that back. He receives the ball. Now, as he starts to dribble, you can see his defender, the person that is marking him, is trying to show him to the outside. Based on the defender's positioning, you can refuses. He refuses to take the bait. He cuts back on his right foot. He sees his number nine making a beautiful run, and he delivers this ball with some serious accuracy. Now, this striker headed the ball over the bar. But imagine that was Victor Osimhen. We know how much quality Osimhen has from aerial balls. If this was Osimhen, I think the net would be bulging. I think the net would be bulging. And as quality a crosser as Felix Agu is, unfortunately, his attackers at Werder Bremen are not the most clinical, so he did not get a single assist in the entire season. In this short clips that I've been showing you, we've already seen him deliver three pitches of balls into the box, but unfortunately, none of them led to goals. Again, to be excited about. This guy has some good qualities that he can bring into the Super Eagles. Um. Okay, let me not get distracted by the comments too much. But yes, one thing that I don't think he's the best at. So we've looked at some pros. We'll come back to pros in a bit because there are more pros to look at. But let's highlight maybe one of his cons. I think one of the cons is his 1v1 defending. 1v1 defending. So while trying to look at the way he defends, he is maybe not the best full-on defender. Think of players like Trent Alexander-Arnold. Think of players like Jeremy Frimpong, that are in the limelight these days. Very, very quality players going forward. Maybe don't have the best abilities going back. I think he is in a similar mode when you think of the modern day fullback and you mention these guys. His defensive ability is not the best. Now, am I saying he is a bad defender? No. I'm just saying he's not a great defender, especially when he's going up against tricky players. So, something that I noticed from watching and analyzing a number of his videos, when he's going up against tricky players, he tends to get beat. But when he's going up against a player that just wants to run down the flank, he's pretty decent. Ekitike on the ball, you can see him. This is the diamond, boom. Our boy is beaten. If he pause it here, I mean, Agu completely beaten, bamboozled with a little bit of trickery from Ekitike here. And he leaves the room for the shots. Ekitike can try to find the top corner, but thankfully for him, Ekitike takes an extra touch that maybe he just needed to set himself up. A little bit of trickery. 1v1, a couple step overs, and Agu is well beaten. I know you might say, oh, but he's a human being now. There's no player that is perfect. Every defender can be dribbled past every once in a while. Yes, I completely agree. Like I said, he's not a terrible defender. It's just not one of his strong suits, defending 1v1 against tricky players. Does it mean that he's going to get beat every time he faces a tricky player? No, he's a professional. At the end of the day, sometimes he will stop the player. But if he's going up against somebody that is very tricky, I'll be interested to see how it goes in training, for example. But from the videos that I saw, I can't show all the examples that I came across because, again, copyright. But I picked out a couple of them and I was like, okay, maybe this is something that he's going to need help with. His center backs have to be aware of that. They need to be covering for him. The midfielders have to be tracking back fast enough. Maybe he can do a good job of delaying to try to allow his teammates to recover. But you don't want him to be 1v1 against a tricky forward too much. Otherwise, we might concede opportunities. Let's look at another example of him going 1v1 against an attacker with a little bit of trickery. Through his legs, his teammates covers for him. But still similar thing. Once a player squares up to him and the player starts, juke, starts moving left, right, step overs, it can get lost. It can get lost. It can get be aware of. Look, he tries his best to keep up, but it's just not easy for him. Again, if he has teammates that are aware of this, if he has teammates that are in right positions that can cover for him, then it should not be the end of the world for the Super Eagles. I'll look at one more example of this and then I'll show you when he is good in 1v1 situations. So this is against Bayer Leverkusen in the other game. So he's going now. This is Frimpong that he's going 1v1 again. This is fullback against fullback. But of course, Frimpong plays. Frimpong gets past him, delivers a dangerous ball into the box. Very easily, that can be a goal. Very, very easily, that can be a goal. Um, let's take that back once again. He's faced up 1v1. You can see, even sorry, just take it back a little bit. You can see that once the ball stops with Rebong, the first thing he does is he looks to the side like, "Omo, who they help me?" Just makes him have enough time and space to run down and deliver a dangerous ball into the box. I can see somebody here saying Frank Onyeka will be good with him here. So for that recovery run, whether it be on Yeka, whether it be in Didi, whoever it is, when they are playing on his side, they just need to offer him a little bit of support to make sure that he's not fully isolated. And even though, or even when he gets beat, somebody is there to help him. Now, does it mean that he gets beaten every 1v1? No. Let's look at some instances where he's quite good. So, like I mentioned, when he plays against somebody that is trying to use trickery to beat him, he is not the strongest. But if you want to run with him directly, he has enough pace, he has enough awareness, and he has enough ability. A beautiful sliding tackle, he stops that attack. Those are the kind of scenarios in which he excels going against wingers. We'll look at another example of that. A good 1v1 defending opportunity. So this is against Armenia Battlefield. He's quite isolated in this one, but his attacker just tries to run past him. And if you try to run past him, most of the time, he is going to stop you because he has enough pace to keep up with you and because he is quite good with his tackling. And just something else to see here is his effort. Even after tackling, still shows enough effort to be able to clear the ball. And that is something that I appreciate about him. His concentration is always up there. He's always working hard. He doesn't stop running. He doesn't stop trying. And I think we will be pleased with him in terms of effort. As long as he gives the same like he gives for his club, I think that we will be pleased with him in terms of effort. For sure, for sure, for sure. Okay, let us take a quick intermission. Let me just look at what people are saying in the comments. Somebody's asking what is the squad lineup. Know that tomorrow. Somebody says Eric Shell like that because of the attack. Somebody says he's very good, but defensively he's rather poor. Somebody else is saying that yes, I am right. Somebody said, "Have I done this for Chrysanthos Uche?" In fact, yes, the last tactical analysis I did was of Chrysanthos Uche, available on the Eagles Tracker YouTube channel. So please make sure you check our YouTube channel for more player analysis like this. So far, we've touched on a couple things when it comes to Felix Agu. We've highlighted the fact that he can play on the outside as a natural fullback, or he can also play inverted. He can play with both feet, so expect him to put crosses into the box with both his right foot and with his left foot. He's a very good crosser of the ball with fantastic accuracy. So a striker like Victor Osimhen is going to love playing with him. That is something that he's quite good at. High concentration on the field, good decision making, most times will cover for the things that he lacks in terms of his ability to play 1v1. When he goes up against a tricky player, you do not want him to be isolated too much. I'm trying to think of who can be dangerous, in Africa. But we know that South Africa have some players that are quite good on the ball. It's just not, and in general, Africa, there's a lot of flair, there's a lot of ability. And I mean, we're talking about, or we're planning to qualify for the World Cup. So it's not even just about Africa. For example, if we go to the World Cup and we happen to be drawn against Spain, it's going to be going up against Lamine Yamal, who is a dangerous boy. If we go up against like a Belgium, you can be drawn against Jeremy Doku, who is a dangerous boy. If you're going against Brazil, Vinicius Junior is a dangerous boy. So, there's I mean, a number of options of players that he can come up against that are quite tricky. So it's just something to be aware of. Um, and I didn't really talk about this initially, but because of the fact that he can play on the outside or he can invert and he can play with both feet, of course, he's a clear option for both the left fullback position for the Super Eagles and also the right fullback. Of course, you would expect that Olaino is the lock for the right side, but if need be, if Olaino is injured, if Olaino is unavailable, like in this Unity Cup match, where Olaino is not going to be taking part, Felix Agu can slot in there and can do a good job because he is in fact a naturally right-footed player. So it just, I mean, it would just make sense for him. It would just make sense for him. Okay, let us look at some of the other pros of Felix Agu. Let us look at some of the other pros. So I mentioned how I think he has high concentration and he gives that effort non-stop. In this video, what I particularly want to highlight is just his recovery rate, his pace, and ability is up there. If he gets the chance to, you know, tackle a guy that is running at him or that is trying to run past him, his accuracy is up there. I saw a number of his videos of his tackles, and that is something that he does to a high degree. So it's going to be interesting to see how it works out for him. Another thing that I really like about him, still just highlighting his concentration, highlighting his ability, not only on the ball but also off the ball, also off the ball. To read the danger. He gets into the right position, and when the ball eventually comes there, the attacker for Bochum is unable to take a shot because Felix Agu has covered that position. Something that I think is a very, very underrated ability of footballers is the ability to read the danger. Um, a lot of the time people don't even notice this ability because when you read the danger well enough, the danger doesn't come and you're not making a tackle, you're not necessarily making a block, and people are not seeing the work that you are doing. But being able to know where you have to be in order to prevent situations from happening is an underrated ability, and I think is very crucial. It's like when they talk about the security services of nations, for example, and it's like, oh, what do these DSS people actually do, or what do these CIA people actually do? And if you ever get the impression that they're not doing anything, it's because they are doing their job so well that you don't notice the job that they are doing. And that is something that I think he does in terms of his positioning, in terms of his covering the gaps, in terms of his reading the danger. He does very, very well. And that sometimes you might not even notice the job that he's doing because of that. Let us watch a second video that highlights this. So again, he's playing from the left back position. Um, Let me just take that back very quickly. So you can see highlighted on the screen, that's Felix Agu in the is it greenish black um of Werder Bremen, and you can see the yellow space is highlighting where the potential danger is based on where the RB Leipzig attacker is. The ball goes out to the left side, and Agu ensures to get himself in front of the attacker. Because, of course, if you are behind the attacker and the cross comes in, what can you really do? Gets himself in front, goal side of the attacker to curb any potential danger. And the cross is not a good one. So, for most people, when you're watching the game, the cross wasn't good. You're not necessarily going to notice the fact that Felix Agu got himself into that very, very good position. That had the cross been more accurate, had the cross actually been trying to find the attacker, Felix Agu would have probably been in prime position to head that away or to get rid of the danger. But again, it's one of those things that you don't necessarily notice that the player is doing that unless you really go back and analyze and you go back and watch the player closely. That is a fleeting moment in a game. People are just going to say, "Oh, bad cross, danger averted," but in reality, his fantastic positioning there. Even if the cross was more accurate, I doubt if that attacker would have been able to get because of his efforts to recover, because of his efforts to get goal side of the attacker. I think that that's a good quality to have. I think that that's an absolutely good quality for him to have. Okay, let me go back to the comments very, very quickly. I see somebody here. Taiwo seems to just not be a fan of Felix Agu, which is fair, but I always encourage people, if you are going to not be a fan of somebody in a conversation like this, then give us, tangible reasons, give us some empirical evidence, something to back up your points. But when you just say, oh, he can't play RB, we have this guy, you're not making any points really. Why is the other guy better? Why don't you think he's good enough? Give us something. Don't just use a lot of words without meaning. Adiola 66 says, let him not meet Kudus. Don't worry, Kudus is not going to be part of the Ghana squad for the Unity Cup. So we don't really have to worry about Mohamed Kudus right now. Of course, Kudus, we know how fantastic a player he is, doing a great job for West Ham in the English Premier League and of course for Ghana as well. Okay. And I think those are the major pros that I have identified in his game. Can play from the outside, can play inverted from the inside of his winger, can play with both feet, left foot, right foot, no problem. Very good crosser of the ball, one of the highest accuracies in the Bundesliga this season. Quick player, high level of concentration, good decision making, and good recovery. And then finally, good IQ, reading the danger that's coming and knowing where to position himself to help his teammates to avert danger. Cons, I looked at the fact that he is not the best 1v1 defender when he is facing tricky players. He is not the best 1v1 defender when he's facing tricky players. This is not necessarily an issue if he has teammates that are covering for him, but it is something that can lead to opponents getting one or two chances, in their favor when he's playing. A few step overs, he can get beat. A few jukes here and there, he can get beat. So hopefully his teammates recognize that and they are covering for him a lot of the time. And a second con that I would look at is his ability in the air, aerial duels. Now, Felix Agu is not a short player. He's not a short player. I think he's like 5'10", 5'11", 5'10", 5'11", thereabouts. So he's not a short player, especially for football standards. But he's not great in the air. He's not great in the air. I don't want to show videos of his aerial duels just because it can get quite boring and it's not the best way to show this, I think. But if we look at some of the data, so these are aerial duels in his own third, so in the final third of the opponents in the defensive third of Werder Bremen. This season, we can see that when crosses are played into the box, he loses far more of the aerial duels than he wins. We look at these aerial duels that are on the line of the defensive third and that are outside of the box. Think of those ones. Oh, I don't know. Can you guys see my screen? Sorry. Oh, apologies. Okay, so somebody's saying it's 5'11". So if you look at the data here, most of the aerial duels inside the box, you can see that Felix Agu loses them. Now, the ones outside the box, the ones on the line of the defensive third, the way you can think of those aerial duels, those are typically goal kicks, long free kicks that are lofted into the air. He wins most of them than he loses. But when the ball comes into the box, now this is probably a corner kick. This is probably an indirect free kick that is close to the box where there's intentionality behind it. He is not the strongest at winning those duels. And it can be something to worry about. Maybe, maybe not. For somebody that is tall enough, I would have expected him to be stronger in the air dealing with balls in the box, but maybe it is just not a trait that fullbacks bother to have these days, because fullbacks typically are not supposed to be seen as the headers of the ball. That's typically center backs, DMs, and strikers. Maybe that's why, but it's just something to be aware of. So if we're defending set pieces, we don't necessarily want Felix Agu to be taking up a key role or marking one of the most dangerous players. He is tall, so I'm sure that the coach will probably still see him and say, "No, I can use him effectively from set pieces. He can offer something," but he is not the strongest at winning aerial duels. That is something that we just have to be aware of. I think those are, for me, the two major cons in his game. His 1v1 defending, definitely not the best ability that he has, and aerial duels, not the greatest. He's not terrible, but he's not great. I would have expected him to be better for the height that he has on him. I would have expected him to be better for the height that he has on him. Okay. Um, I think those are the main things that I wanted to show you guys today about Felix Agu, so that you can have a better understanding of who he is, of what he brings, and how he can potentially impact the Super Eagles. So, where can he fit in the national team? Left, right side. Primarily, I see him playing as a left back for the Super Eagles of Nigeria. I don't see him playing as a right back when Olaino is available. I just don't see it happening. If it's him versus Baitosai Samuel, I think he has a chance of starting ahead of Baitosai Samuel. You know, Even if we look at the defensive side of his game and say he's not the strongest on that side, Baitosai Samuel is not by any means a great defender as well. So that is going to be good competition for the both of them to be able to, go against each other and see who comes out on top. I think it's going to be an interesting one. And on the left side, of course, we have primarily Zedu Sanusi, who has been out of the team for a while now because he had that injury and he's still trying to earn his spot back at FC Porto. And then we have Bruno Oyemechi, who Eric Shell kind of told us without telling us that he doesn't trust, because at the last games, even though Bruno was there, he rather played Olaino from the left side and played Bright on the right side. So for whatever reason, he doesn't trust Bruno as much. So I think the left side of our defense is where Felix Agu fits in most likely. In the Unity Cup, I would expect him to play from the right side because, well, Bruno is there, Olaino is not there, Bright is not there. So he's kind of like the number one option to play from that right side. Otherwise, it's going to be maybe Sadiq Ismail or Wali Ojetoye of Ikorodu City that will start from there. We have to wait and see what Eric Shell decides to do. But I think that he can definitely offer a lot of opportunity for us from the left side of our defense going forward. If he's playing against, rather, if he's playing on the left side with a player like Moses Simon, where we know that Moses Simon likes to hog the touchline, Moses Simon likes to get the ball and try to dribble towards his players, then he can offer that support on the inside as an inverted fullback and can help to, create an extra body in the midfield when we're on the attack. If he's playing with a winger like, say, an Ademola Lookman, where we know that Lookman is not very, very much a wide player, Lookman is more of an inside forward, then he can play that role of a natural fullback, going past his attacker and trying to create chances for Nigeria on the overlap rather. He can cross with his left foot, he can cross with his right foot. So we expect him to be creating a few chances. And of course, like I showed, he has a very high percentage of you know um cross success rate. So I'm expecting Victor Osimhen to be licking his lips a little bit and be saying, okay, if this boy is going to be delivering balls like this, then I'm going to be feasting and I'm going to get in at the end of it. Of course, even if Victor Osimhen is not there, so like what, 6'4", 6'5". I know some people were talking about how he did not time his jump properly, but let's not use that 1 or 2 moments to judge the Larodare. Still new in the team, tall guy, and I think that he can definitely deliver some quality crosses that Arokodare should finish fairly easily or Sima should finish fairly easily. I think that honestly, when I look at it, That's what I'm most excited about. I'm most excited about the impacts that he can have for us going forward rather than what he can do for us defensively. I'm more excited about what he can do going forward. Of course, he will still have moments that he needs to defend. So he needs to be solid and he needs to be composed in those moments. But going forward, I think he can be a source of chances created for the Super Eagles. I definitely think that he can be a source of chances created. And I'm looking forward to seeing him do that for us as well. Now, I guess for me, this is the thing that I battled with the most as I was preparing the analysis, as I was looking at all his data, as I was watching his videos. To prepare for this stream that we're doing now, I think I watched over 200 videos of Felix Agu, 200 different clips. I only showed a couple of them because, once again, I cannot just show the whole Bundesliga season without getting copyright flagged. But I looked at over 200 of his videos and tried to highlight what I thought could be some of the key things that really show the things that I'm trying to talk about. Between him, Zaidu, and Bruno, if you guys watch me enough, you guys know that I'm somebody that has always fought for Bruno Yemechi to start. I've always felt like Bruno would offer more to us than Zaidu Sanusi, both in the present and in the long term. But I'm not going to lie to you. It is hard to pick between Bruno and Felix Agu for me, but I think Agu edges it a little bit, and I think Agu joining the Super Eagles, I think he becomes our best left back. I honestly think so. I think Agu joining the Super Eagles becomes our best left back. Defensively, he is not as solid as Bruno Emechi. Going forward, he's much better than Bruno Emechi. Now we look at the intangibles. Concentration, he beats Bruno. Recovery, he beats Bruno. Decision making, he beats Bruno. You look at some other tangibles like crosses, he beats Bruno. And then even if you look at the gap between their defensive abilities, while I don't think he's as defensively sound as Bruno Oyemechi, I don't think that the gap is a huge gap. We're not talking about Bruno being like an Aspilicueta and then he's, a trash ass defender. No. Bruno is just better, maybe 1v1, and everything. Of course, if we're comparing him to Ola, that's a different ballgame altogether. But I'm looking at Ola, as our right back. So I'm comparing him to Bruno and Zaidu. It's hard to really talk about Zaidu right now because Zaidu has been out of action for a very long time. So Zaidu doesn't really have an opportunity right now to play for the Super Eagles. So defensively, the gap between him and Bruno is not a lot, even though Bruno edges it. Offensively, I do think that the gap that he has ahead of Bruno in the attack is bigger than the gap that Bruno has ahead of him in the defense. Someone is asking, does he have pace? Yes, he does have pace as well. That is why he's very good with recovery. Because even, I didn't show the clips here, but even in the instance where Felix Agu is beaten, if there is space, he still has enough to be able to recover. I think in one of the clips that we showed as well, we could see a counter attack where his attacker was maybe 5, 6 steps ahead of him, and he ran and chased to get ahead of the attacker and then eventually make a slide tackle. He has the pace, he has the effort, and ultimately, I know some people might disagree with me because at the end of the day, football is a game of opinions. But as much as I've liked Bruno, as much as I've fought for Bruno in the past, as much as I've advocated for Bruno to start matches in the past, I think Felix Agu comes and becomes our best left back. And I don't say this lightly because you guys know me. When I make an opinion, I always like to be informed about the opinion that I'm making. I think Felix Agu comes and becomes our best left back. I think it sucks a little bit for Bruno because now Bruno, that was already on the periphery under the last few coaches, Bruno only really got to play when Eguavon was the coach. Pesero did not play him. Eric Shell did not play him. And Felix Agu coming in, if he does a good job in training and he does a good job in this match against Ghana and potentially the second match against Jamaica or Trinidad, and then when Olaino returns, etc., Bruno might be looking at not necessarily being even considered for a starting role again. I think it's tough. I think it's tough. And we know that one of the things that Bruno has that he doesn't quite do too well is his concentration, is his positioning. I want to believe that obviously these are things that he will get better at as he grows as a player. Now playing for Olympiacos, next season is potentially going to play in the UEFA Champions League. You know, it's hard to compare Bruno to a player who was raised in the German system. We know that the Germans are very big on efficiency, doing things the right way, making the right decisions. This boy has played essentially in the German Bundesliga for almost all his life. So it's different upbringings, it's different upbringings. It's different upbringings, different trainings, different levels of coaching. Is one thing to play in the Bundesliga week in, week out. It's another thing for Bruno to have been playing in Boavista, where today they play him left back, tomorrow they play him centre back, the next day they play him DM, the other day they play him left mid, left forward. But that's a key trait that Bruno has that I should also highlight. Bruno is a very versatile player, can play in multiple positions. But strictly looking at the left back position, I think he loses out to Felix Agu. I think he loses out for Felix Agu. I really do think he does. I really do think he does. I wish I had more time. Really uh, look into Bruno's numbers and his videos and compare the two players, but we're not really gonna do that right now. We're not really gonna do that right now. But yes, I hope you guys have learned something. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Let me know in the chat if this has made sense to you. Let me know in the chat if you want to see more of these tactical analysis of Nigerian players. And if you do, let me know who you would like me to analyze next. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for watching. If you have the means, please support the stream, support the efforts, leave a super chat. If you don't want to spend any money on us, sucks, but I understand. Please just ensure to hit the like button. More than 60% of people that are watching us right now have not hit the like button. So please, please, please hit the like button. It is just something that sends a signal to the platform telling me that we're doing good work, that helps us to reach more people, that helps the channel to grow, and of course helps us to continue to create quality content like this. So please, guys, hit the like button, hit the like button. And if you have the means, please support with a super chat or with a super thanks if you are watching on replay. Osazuwa says, beautiful. Thank you, Osazuwa. I am glad that you enjoyed the session. I'm glad that you enjoyed the session. Someone says Tino Anjorin. When Tino Anjorin declares for Nigeria, I would put in the efforts. Especially given the fact that when I know they really support like that, no super chat throughout the stream. I'll now go and do a whole breakdown on a player that has not even declared for Nigeria. You know, I'm doing this because Felix Agu is part of the Super Eagles now. So Tino Anjorin is not of interest to me. If I'm going to watch him and analyze him, it's for my private consumption and for my own knowledge. But before I do a stream or a breakdown on him like this, he will need to declare for Nigeria. He will need to declare for Nigeria. I'm just a football nerd, so I enjoy things like this. But you know, content wise, a lot of people are not seemingly, when we discuss Nigerian football, we do get super chats, we do get support. This is not giving the same vibe. So I'll do it for the players that I really, really think people should be aware of. The last one I did on Chrysanthos Uche, the analysis of Chrysanthos Uche, if you haven't seen it, go and watch on our YouTube channel. Uche's own was, because there's always that talk about why is he not in the midfield, or where does he actually play, or what can he actually do? And I wanted people to really be able to answer some of those questions. So go watch the Cristiano Suche one if you haven't seen it already. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Abiola says, I love this. Thank you for tuning in. Abiola, thank you. I appreciate you. Taiwo says interesting and detailed analysis. Thanks for always doing this. You're welcome. Adiola66 says thank you for this info. Thank you, Adiola. Oh, I got my first super chat of the evening. Thank you, Isabel G. Much, much, much appreciate. Thank you for the support, man. Real one, real one, real one. Thank you very, very much. But don't worry, guys. Even though I'm complaining about lack of support today, I will keep doing the tactical analysis. It will just obviously depend on the player, depend on the situation, depending on the day. This would have come tomorrow, but of course, tomorrow there's the match between Nigeria and Ghana. I am going to be doing a live watch along for the Ghana versus Nigeria game in the Unity Cup. Some people have been asking if I'm going to stream the game on the channel. As of right now, I will say no. Depending on how things turn out tomorrow, if the game becomes free to air, etc., then maybe we might stream the game. But what I can confirm is that there's going to be a live watch along for sure, where I am going to be watching the game. Hopefully, you are watching the game as well, and we can react and interact in real time. And it's always fun whenever we do these live watch along. So I'm sure that you guys will enjoy that. Okay, before I wrap up and leave you today, is there any question that anybody has about Felix Agu? Is there anything that you want me to show again? Is there anything that you want me to highlight again before we end today's session? Please, 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 if there is, send it in the chat now. If there isn't, please just make sure you like the video. Make sure you like the video. And if you have the means, please make sure you leave a super chat. Adiola says, I am going to be at the game live. Fantastic. I love that for you. I love that for you. I wish I was in London right now, but unfortunately, I cannot be in London at the moment. But I do sincerely love that for you. Say hi to the players. Let them know that Eagle Striker is greeting them, even though not all the players are my friends right now. But say hi to the players if you get a chance to meet them, and hopefully the Super Eagles can deliver a positive result for you. Hopefully for you and for all Nigerian fans. Any questions, guys? Any questions? Anything that you want to see again before we wrap up for today? And also, who would you like to see a tactical analysis of next? Let it be a current Super Eagle or a player that has already declared for Nigeria. And I will look into the players' information to bring you. Abiola says, "Can we see more of Felix Agu?" I mean, he's going to play tomorrow, so you'll see more of him. I'm not sure exactly what you mean. You know, the issue with showing clips is that you run the risk of copyright infringement if you show too many clips and you're not really analyzing. You're just putting videos out there. When you analyze, you see how when I show the clips, I show you guys the different. I stop start. I highlight certain moments on the field, etc. It falls under fair use, but if I just play the clips for playing sake, then it's just going to be highlight video, and at that point, there's going to be copyright strike. If you want to be able to watch, if you want to be able to watch highlights of Nigerian players without issue, please make sure you subscribe to our Patreon. Subscribe to our Patreon if you want to watch player highlights. After matches, we'll be posting season highlights of different players as well. It's going to be on our Patreon page, patreon.com/Eagle Tracker NG. Of course, it is a paid service. It is a paid service. So you have to be ready to put your money where your mouth is when you're giving us this request to create this content for you. But that is the only place that we're able to upload player highlights without risking these copyright flags and them taking our page down and things like that. So yes, if you want to see player highlights, subscribe to our Patreon. Abiola, if I particularly see that you have subscribed to the Patreon, then we'll go and do a video compilation of Felix Agu for you to see. Somebody's asking about Onuchi Ogbele of Esperance de Tunis, who is going to be playing at the Club World Cup. That could definitely be an interesting one. I must say that could definitely be an interesting one. Onuchi Ogbele. It could be an interesting one. It could be an interesting one. It could be an interesting one. I think the videos that I have access to are only his CAF Champions League games, so I wouldn't have too much video bank to work with. But based on the number of games played in the CAF Champions League, we might have enough to highlight certain things about him. But it could be an interesting one. But yes, if you want to see player highlights, please go to our Patreon page. Adiola is asking if I can do a breakdown for Igor Ogbu. Interesting. I mean, I would say maybe next week. By the time we're doing that, Igor will probably have already made his debut for the Super Eagles in the Unity Cup. So maybe people will have an idea about him. But maybe that would only just give us additional footage to be able to use to talk about him. But I think Igor Ogbu is an interesting one because a lot of people don't really know what he can do. A lot of people don't really know his qualities. A lot of people don't really know how good he actually is or isn't. So I like that suggestion, Igor Ogbu. I like that suggestion. Okay, at this point, I am going to say goodbye to you guys. Thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this breakdown of Felix Agu, and I am looking forward to seeing him playing for the Super Eagles of Nigeria in the Unity Cup and potentially in September's World Cup qualifiers. As always, my name is AyoT. This is Eagle Striker, the home of Nigerian football, and I will see you on the next one. Bye bye, guys.